Halifax.
Hello and welcome to the Monday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. A beautiful sunny day out there, a lovely late summer day. I don't want to get cross the seasons as I did on Friday and heard about it from y'all. I know we're not officially in fall yet, but it kind of feels like it, doesn't it? Just one of those crisp mornings out there, and from what I understand from our weather specialist, Alistair Alders, we might have a little bit of the last bit of summer later this week, with temperatures getting a little bit warmer and maybe some humidity mixing in there as well before we hit that official date and we make the switch to fall and then we turn the temperature down, right? Had a hoodie on the weekend. It felt weird. It's been like a long time since that happened. Before we go any further, of course, our thoughts here at the Todd Veinotte Show and at 95.7 News Radio with everyone impacted last night by that big fire on Hanwell Drive in Middle Sackville. That was the pictures were just were shocking to see. I know there's a number of people that are out of their homes today because of that and likely will be out of their homes for some time. Many more residents were evacuated in that area. Now that evacuation order lifted this morning around 7:30. So again, our thoughts with all of those impacted by that fire in Middle Sackville last night. We will get an update on that, by the way, at noon today. Halifax Fire will be joining the program to give us the very latest on that and any new information that comes to light now that the daylight's on and people get a chance to take a look at what happened as a result of that fire. Thanks to Vanessa Vandenez behind the glass, who, as always, does a fantastic job keeping the show up and running. It is Monday, so that means it's now time for Councillors on the Hot Seat. Please welcome to the show today in the studio, District 2, Lawrencetown, the Lakes, Chezzetcook, Eastern Shore, David Hendsbee. Your business card must be about 4 feet long.
No.
And on the other side of the table here, Timberlea, Beechville, Clayton Park, Wedgewood, which is just about as long, and that's District 12, and that's Janet Steele. Janet, how are you?
Just great. Good morning.
I guess I should turn the mics on and make sure everything that Vanessa's yelling at me are. There you are.
Good morning.
It's Monday morning. These things happen. All right. Councillors on the hot seat, that means the lines are open, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Again, 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's begin, and we'll begin with you, Janet. What's happening in District 12 these days?
Well, quite a lot. The Beechville Lakeside Timberlea Recreation Facility is nearing completion, and we'll be delighted when that eventually opens later this year. Fingers crossed for that. Other than that, we're worried about school safety, the children getting back to school and ensuring everyone's following safe protocols. Traffic and traffic congestion, particularly around Costco. There was a measure put in place to address that, where the initial left-hand turn that didn't have traffic lights was removed. Now what we've done is adjust the traffic.
Is that the one right after the corner?
Yes. The
so
one
that's
no, that is only for truck traffic now.
Oh my!
And so now you have to go to the traffic lights and turn left with the signals.
Oh, I'm sure that made everybody very happy.
Well, it made some people happy and made some people unhappy, but we're working through that. So just routine issues in District 12. Go ahead.
Is that a pilot? Is that something you're testing, or is that now done? It's that turn's gone.
Well, for now the turn is done. For now, the turn is done. And I do have a town hall coming up on Wednesday. I'm hoping for a good turnout of residents. It's taking place at the Canada Games Centre Wednesday, September 17th from 7 to 8:30. And looking forward to hearing from lots of residents on issues that they're concerned with and things they'd like to do together.
Always lots going on in District 2 because it's so big. And David Hendsbee does what he can. I know, spends a lot of time in the car on the roads. And what's going on in your district, David?
Well, as Janet said, it's back to school week last week, so a lot of excitement in the neighborhood for that. But we're still having the drought situation in the rural areas, and I asked people who have been contacting me to make sure they call 311 to report their situation. We need to document where the dry spots are at. in regards to have a response plan for that. We're now assessing potentially more water distribution sites. So the more data we have, the better we can probably respond. So.
With the restrictions on Lake Major, does that impact the ability to help people out who have dry wells?
Well, in my district, I have no central water,
right?
So it's all on wells anyway, and so we have, Porter's Lake Provincial Park has offered their facilities up for 1:30 to 3:30 for people to go in to either water up or get showered, whatever,
right.
And use the laundromat there. We also have a community well project. It was a great project. I want to thank Karen Bradley and the Old School Gathering Place for having the foresight to look at a water project such as that. We were able to tap into an aquifer, and just in August alone, 8,000 gallons were passed that. We put a little water meter on the system to know how much water is being tapped. And we had 8,000 gallons of water being utilized in August. So there's a great godsend there. We have water distribution coming out of the Ground Search Rescue Building at Sheet Harbor, but now we're looking at other sites for possible water distribution.
902-405-6000, 902-405-6000, or 1-877-801-8255. Last week's council meeting, lots of news emanating from that, and one that I know Councillor Austin was in here last week, and we didn't get to it because we were talking about the other things like Dartmouth Cove, but was the D-transfer tax. Now, as I understand it, Council approved a look at this to maybe increase the D-transfer tax on properties that are sold in HRM as a new way to raise additional revenue to fix things and to put into the municipal coffers. I'll start with you, Janet. Your thoughts on increasing the deed transfer tax in HRM?
Thanks for the question. I think it's worth a look. I'll be waiting for the staff report. I wouldn't want to be out of sync with other municipalities or other cities across the country. So I think it's worth a look, and that's really it. I until I see the staff report and the analysis, it's difficult to take a position.
David?
Well, as we heard last year, the Premier and the government froze all our fees and stuff, so we couldn't change any of our permit fees, whatever the case may be. So will the province allow us to look at increasing the D-transfer tax? Not every municipality in the province charge it. And so that's one thing they may need to do is look at, should this be more of a universal application across the province? I think it might be an opportunity for the province themselves to look as a possible revenue generation for themselves. They can share with the municipalities that D-transfer tax. And I think Sam also talked about perhaps looking at a tiered type of a structure where we may have different D-transfers for commercial properties or industrial properties versus residential properties. And there might be even a tier on the valuation of those properties. Anything below $1 million or anything above $1 million, they could have a D-transfer tax relative to their value.
Going to be a difficult sell to your constituents, Janet. I mean, anytime we talk about increasing a tax, no matter what it is, people obviously, for good reason, have concerns about it.
Absolutely, and affordability is a big issue, one that we at council keep in mind as we make our decisions. Everything is we're laser focused on not only this year's budget but next year's budget, and thinking about what we can do to bake in efficiency measures.
I heard from some people, David, that there's concern that they're part of their retirement income is their property that they're going to sell when they retire, and if this tax goes up, then they're going to lose a percentage, whatever the number is, off of the top of their retirement plan. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's just we don't know what the rate's going to be. I think the deed transfer tax now is like 3%. I think it is now, and so the question is, do we raise that or do we bring in a tier structure? So it all depends on that person's retirement property is the valuation of it. Death and tax are two things we can't ignore. The only problem, though, is we hopefully postpone both of them as much as we can. But anyway, just that in regards to that, it is a difficult decision, but we have to look at, do we do these one-time taxes when property is bought and sold, or do we have to have it on the general tax rate? So the question maybe is, where is it better to apply it?
902-405-6000 is the number, 902-405-6000. Before we get to the phone lines for councillors on the hot seat here, Janet, I mentioned Dartmouth Cove. That was a lengthy discussion at council last week. Council deferring a deferral, which I was joking with David before we got on the air that I watched it and I was a bit confused about the whole thing. Your thoughts on this and maybe where we go from here? Like, as I understand it, it's coming back again next week. Is that what's happening?
Yes, my understanding is coming back next week with a staff proposal on a bylaw. So Councillor Austin wanted us to defer the discussion, although we had a lengthy discussion for the deferral, and so then council will look at the bylaw and debate it, and then what will happen is if the bylaw were approved, then it would need to be approved by the province as well.
So the idea is to give it the same protection, at least. This is what I got out of it. The same protection that the waterfront properties got on the Northwest Arm,
yes,
correct?
That is the intent. That is the intent of Councillor Austin's moves on this issue.
And your thoughts on that?
I agree with Councillor Austin, and many residents have approached us asking us to provide similar protections for Dartmouth Cove, and I believe that at this point this is the right move.
Councillor Hendsbee?
I'm on the opposite side of the fence on this one. We have no jurisdiction in those matters in regards to the infilling of Dartmouth Cove. Until the ground breaks the surface of the water and it fixes itself to the shoreline, then the municipality would have some authority when it comes to zoning, and the applicable zoning there would be parks and recreation, because that's the current zoning of the land there. Dartmouth Cove is quite different than Northwest Arm. Northwest Arm is residential and recreational in nature, whereas Dartmouth Cove is a part of a working harbour. If you look up and down the harbour, you'll see a number of these pre-Confederation water lots. A majority of them are owned by the federal and provincial government, so I don't anticipate you'll see any bylaw be approved by the province that will hinder the development rights that the province or federal government may have on their water lots. So
that being said, HRM doesn't have any jurisdiction until it becomes part of terra firma, for lack of a better term. Whose jurisdiction is it right now for the? Is it federal? Is it provincial? Is it both?
It's a federal matter in regards to Transport Canada as well as DFO. You know, when you get the fisheries and oceans, you get fish habitat, and you also have navigable waters for Transport Canada. So those are the two leading agencies there. And then in the province also has some properties in the area, so they have an interest in regards to the development of their water lots. You know, we're talking about trying to have a blue economy working from the ocean and stuff like that. And sometimes you're going to have to infill some ocean water properties just to get that access for more wharfage area.
We've kind of broached on it, Janet, and I'll come to you in a second. We've kind of broached it a couple of times now and it's been, my goodness, I think I can go all the way back to probably Andrew Crystal in this show and the iterations after, all the way through Rick Howe and Todd, that we tend to run into this wall with the province, that wall getting even bigger now with some of the debates going on. Is it, from a council perspective, Janet, and you're a first-timer, I don't want to call you a rookie because, well, you know, but you're a first-timer.
She is.
Fair enough.
Be nice,
now,
David.
when you started, did you realize that there was this much friction between HRM Council and the province, or is this something that you're learning as you go along?
Well, I mean, there's always jurisdictional disputes between the various orders of government. I spent my career working in the federal government and worked a lot with provincial governments, particularly the 4 Atlantic provinces. And often you have differences of opinion and you have to work together toward a compromise. I just want to speak a bit more on Dartmouth Cove. I voted to support Councillor Austin's position because I would like the federal and provincial governments to declare their position. They allowed us the authority on the Northwest Arm. I agree with David. It's very clear the Dartmouth Cove area is a working harbour. The situation is different. But I would like the federal and provincial governments to declare what their point of view is on this. By bringing forward the bylaw and by bringing it to the province will then make a decision. So this is really encouraging the other orders of government to come to a decision.
And encouraging is a good word, because if I remember correctly, if I was watching the debate, I think it was you, Councillor, that was showing some dissatisfaction in the expediency that the federal government or the provincial government were responding to HRM's requests on this file.
Yes, we are not getting a response. That is the issue. So my question is, why not? Are we not getting a response because they would rather HRM make the decision, which may not be popular?
902-405-6000, 902-405-6000. This is Councillors on the Hot Seat. The lines are open. There's a few in there if you have a question for our councillors today. Again, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Councillors on the Hot Seat continues after the break. All right, welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Olstrand. This is Councillors on the Hot Seat. The telephone number is 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. To the phones we go, and we welcome Chris to the program. Chris, how are you today, sir?
I'm fine this lovely day, and how are all you guys?
We're well. What's your question for the councillors today?
Well, question and comment. Here we're talking tax increases again, this time deed transfer tax. You guys do not need to increase the deed transfer tax. It's based on a percentage of the selling price of the homes and the buildings that the deeds change hands on. Those prices go up continuously. You get more money every year as the price of that base that you charge it on increases. Yes or no?
That is correct, but we're also looking at possibly should it be tiered or not in regards to should we have a different one for commercial and industrial properties versus residential properties? Or should there be one for properties less than $1 million? Should it only be a 1 or 2% versus the 3%? Those are the things we want to look at.
But that's still a tax increase, David. Whether you increase it on industrial, residential, or commercial, it's still you're looking at a tax increase. Give it up, you guys. Why don't you try something novel, a novel approach here? Here's a suggestion. Try cutting costs.
Where would you like to cut? Where would you like to cut out first, Chris?
Okay, first thing, we don't need electric buses. You might want them. We don't need them. We don't need a stadium. Why even discuss it? We don't need bike lanes. They're already 400% or 500% over cost. Another thing, it's small, but add it up. All these crosswalks that are painted with the gay pride colors and stuff, you don't need to do that. There's lots of things you don't need to do. Try looking at some of these things. You keep debating. And how about the Water Commission? You're in charge of the Water Commission. They don't need a new $84 million building and jack our rates by 37% and possibly lose Owens as a big employer here, all in the process. There's lots of things that you can look at, but the only thing you guys tend to do, and it's been this way for years, it's not just the current council, it's councils before you as well. You just look at it like all governments do. How do we get more money? Oh, let's just jack up the cost to all the taxpayers. That's wrong, David. You guys know it's wrong. Try cutting costs. But the deed transfer, you get it. Any tax that's based on a percentage base, that base cost or value increases, you're automatically getting an increase. The same as when the assessments come through. If the assessments are up 5%, you can leave the rate exactly the way it is, and you still get 5% more money coming in. Why not try doing some of those things instead of always continuously looking at sticking it to the taxpayer? And we feel like we're being stuck to. People are pissed off, David. I don't know how you what responses you guys get when you go around your constituencies, but I see it all the time. These people there's a big protest with people to this. It's gone way, way too far. And every time you guys keep talking about electric buses and other expenditures and things that we don't need, might be nice to have, but we can't afford them and we do not need them, especially now. Try something different instead of always raising the taxes.
All right, Chris, appreciate it. Let the councillors speak. Have a great one.
Thank you.
I'll start with you, Janet. What's your thoughts on what Chris had to say?
Oh, well, Chris had some interesting points. I think affordability is really important. I think I'd like to remind Chris that we had a flat tax rate last year, and we're also looking very carefully for this year's budget on what we can do to continue to provide services to residents, the services residents request day in, day out, as well as maintaining an affordable tax rate for them. Last year, we dipped into a $10 million reserve to maintain the flat tax rate. This year, it's going to be more challenging. We don't have a $10 million reserve. And just to Chris's point about speaking to residents, I speak to residents every day, and often they're asking me for enhanced bus services. They're asking me for more crosswalks with lights. They're asking for more speed bumps around the city. Some of them are even asking for bike lanes. So we are getting demand for increased services with our growing population. And that's what is increasing the need for our revenue to grow.
when we talk about that flat tax rate, I always hear from people say that's a shell game because we know that we got an idea anyway, what the assessment rate was going to go up by. So when we say we have a flat tax rate, that's correct, but HRM ratepayers still paid more in tax this year than they did last.
Absolutely they did, because the value of their homes went up. Yes, that's based on PVSC, and that's totally managed provincially. One of the things we do have is we have a capped rate as well. So if you've been in your home a long time, your assessment has not increased the same way. You don't pay the same tax as someone who's bought a new home or bought a home. You're not, the new purchaser is not capped. So HRM is not gaining revenue on that.
So the new home purchaser's not going to be capped at an assessment rise, and then they're going to have to pay, if this becomes law, more in the transfer tax when they buy their home.
Yes.
So they're going to get kind of a double whammy there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
David, your thoughts?
Well, we're always looking at ways to review our services and stuff, which one should be modified, and the case may be. For example, last week was the last week of organic collections. We're back on to 2-week collections now. A lot of people complained about that service cut we did. We saved about $300,000 of adjusting the season, started later in the year and finishing it earlier in the year. But that's one of the biggest complaints we've heard, is that we want their weekly green cards back for the full summer duration. So that's something we're going to have to reanalyze in the upcoming budget. But we're looking at all our services and stuff. Our biggest problem is, like we said, the province froze our fees. We can't increase our permit fees or recreation fees, or the case may be. That we're trying to look at ways to try to find alternative funding sources. We're also trying to cut costs. He may harp about the electric buses, but the electric buses also have a reduction of operational costs. We're not going to be paying out for diesel and as much as we used to have in the past. So, and all those motor parts and stuff. The electric vehicles might cost quite a bit at the beginning, but in the long run, they're supposed to be having operational savings. Do
we know when that we reach that saturation point? Because they're much more expensive than the diesel buses, right? And we still have to charge them with electricity. Do we know when it will become more economical? Is there a date, or have you circled on that?
I believe that's part of our 2030 targets we're hoping,
right.
But I'll have to check with our Halifax folks. They have that kind of data.
902-405-6000. It's 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's see if we can squeeze a call in here before the break. Mark, how are you?
I'm good. My question is, this is actually the third or fourth time I've asked this question, and I get the same answer every time, is we're working on it. So this goes back to Mike Savage's last run for mayor, and a promise he made that all the councillors, or it passed anyway. I don't know if all the councillors voted for it, but previous councillors has told me it passed, and that is the working wage, and that no one was going to get an HRM contract unless they paid their employee a living wage. So I'm just wondering where we're at with that, because I know that's not the case. I know for a fact that Dexter's, Ocean, ARCP, all these construction companies that get all the repaving and resurfacing jobs, new septic or well pipes, all that stuff, they don't pay a living wage. They pay probably $3 to $4 less than a living wage. So I'm just wondering where we're at with that.
All right, Mark, I'm going to get you an answer here just before the break. We're up against it. So, Councillor Hendsbee, go ahead.
Well, the question is, what is that living wage? What is the actual dollar figure? We just heard today that the minimum wage is going to go up October 1st to $16.50. So the question is that the living wage amount? I don't think it is. Minimum wage
it's $29.40, I think, is the number from the policy center.
Because I know that Councillor Lindell Smith had requested a policy for us to have a more of a living wage or closer to a living wage procurement process. We do have that in some of our contracts now. We're asking people to be a little more cognizant of their wages and stuff. But in regards to the general contractors, when it comes to road work, I really wouldn't know about that. I would have to check out that further, because road construction is very important for the municipality and the province, and that having that living wage is a good target to achieve.
Councillor Steele, I know affordability is one of your key issues.
Yeah, I know. I know the living wage has been discussed at council, and I know there's been some movement in that direction. So, Mark, unfortunately, my answer is going to be we're still working on it.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Thanks for the call, Mark. We're going to take a break. Councillors on the Hot Seat continues after the news. This is the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand. We're back in minutes. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. It's Monday. That means it's time for Councillors in the Hot Seats. The lines are open. There's a few of them available to you if you want to join the program. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Sitting in the studio, District 2 Councillor David Hendsbee, District 12 Councillor Janet Steele, and on the phone is Nicole. Nicole, how are you?
I'm well, Dan. How are you?
Nice to hear your voice today. What's your question for the councillors? I'll get it out eventually.
Yeah. No, I just want to get some clarification on Dartmouth Cove. If I heard correctly, Councillor Steele, did you say that because there's no declared position from the province or the federal government that council is just kind of sitting on that right now?
No, you may have just caught part of it. Actually, we deferred voting on the staff motion at last week's council, and at next week's council, staff will come forward with a proposed bylaw for us to vote on, and then it will need to be approved by the provincial government. So we're not waiting. We're moving forward, or we'll see what the will of council is next week, but there will be a bylaw. There will be a new staff report with some proposals. Council will vote on it, and if council approves the position brought forward, council approves it, then it will go to the province for a decision, and also the federal government will have to weigh in as well.
Has the province's silence been recorded on the record with council?
It was at the last meeting. There was some debate about it. I think Councillor Steele was behind it.
Yes.
Okay, so
yes, we've reached out for the provincial government's position.
Okay. If it's on the record as recorded silence, and tacit consent can come through silence, which could intimate that because the province is choosing not to enter a declared position, that they are in agreement with what council would move forward with. I'm muddy on what council still requires additional approval from the province on when their silence, if recorded properly, is their tacit consent to what council wants to push through.
Any of our bylaws that we pass as a council needs to be ratified by the Minister of Municipal Affairs. So it doesn't get ratified until it gets final consent from the minister. So we can, basically this bylaw that may be bringing forward, it's going to push the agenda and force the hand of the government to make up their mind.
Are there any conflicts of interest that people should be aware of as to why the minister may not choose to ratify the bylaw?
Like I said earlier, there's a lot of water lots on the working harbour owned by the federal and provincial governments. I don't think you want to see them lose any of their development rights of those water lots by any municipal bylaw.
And are any potential conflicts of interest being logged on the record to ensure that the province can see that when they make their decision?
They would have to declare that themselves.
They have to. Why do we have to wait for the province to declare a conflict of interest and not council?
Because they would have to determine if they're in a conflict or not. That's what the province.
Why would we ask someone if they're in conflict? Why would we not declare? Again, we're not asking permission. Why are we not making the statements and declaring a conflict of interest and allowing the province to come back and disprove it or not?
I would say the province has a vested interest, not a conflict. That's the whole issue there in regards to, I don't think they want to have any bylaws that's going to infringe upon their development rights of water lots.
Well, then I think council has a duty, a fiduciary duty, specifically under the HRM Council, or the HRM Charter and the MGA, to put those potential conflicts of interest on the record and allow the province to respond to those. Because if not, if we're waiting for someone else to say, oh, yeah, there's a conflict of interest, they're not going to do that. They're under no obligation to self-incriminate or put something that could be against their best interest on the record. That's actually a violation of their oath of office to do that. So it then becomes incumbent on council to put that on the public record and allow the province, again, to show up and say, yes, the conflict, or no, it's not. And their silence cannot be neutral. There's no such thing as neutral silence. And as long as it's framed as a question and we're waiting for them to do it, that's a problem.
Nicole, appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
902-405-6000 is 1-877-801-8255. Maybe a question better for Mr. Travs to take a look at. I'm not a lawyer, so and we know Nicole is plugged into this stuff, so might be something to maybe take a look at when you head back to council. Just some friendly advice. 902-405-6000 is the number. Let's go to Yvonne on the line. Yvonne, how are you?
Good morning, Dan and councillors. Dave, I have a couple of questions for you.
You got your paved pads down there in Lake Echo, don't you?
One for sure. I think you put in two, but there's the second one is not where I wanted it. But that's another debate for another discussion for another time.
All right.
What I want to ask you about is, are we getting any more? A couple of questions, like I said, are we getting any more buses out in Lake Echo besides the 2 or 3 in the morning and 2 or 3 at night time and like during peak hours? And
our service evaluations are done on a periodical basis depending on the ridership numbers. So the question is we've been adjusting the services to try to reflect the time of day of use. We even added weekend service that we didn't have before, and so we're just trying to monitor the utilization rates. So if the ridership goes up, then we might get more frequency.
Yeah, I think you're going to see more people using it, during peak hours because, I know I'd like to be able to at times, but and yes, it's nice to have services on the weekend. It's kind of nice, but it's just I always find that there's sometimes you got to make sure that you make your plans ahead of time, because if you don't, and you especially in the morning, and you take the last bus in and you don't make it on the way back out, then you're stuck in there for the whole day. So that kind of thing. The other thing is I wanted to talk about, and I don't know if Janet can answer this or you, David, but I'm going to go back to the bike lanes. I know somebody was talking about bike lanes earlier. And I know Laura Lee Nickel was in. I lived in off of Merrimack at the time in Cole Harbour, and they tore up that whole sidewalk right down from Forest Hills Parkway from Main Street, I think, and right down to past Cole Harbour. Anyhow, when I tore that up, of course, half of I call it sidewalk. Some people call it pathway. Now I don't know where the change and name for sidewalk to pathways and all this stuff. The thing is, I made a suggestion to somebody, which it never happened after they tore it all up. If you know the bridge terminal, how there's those yellow lines that are going down, the walkway, so then you know where your poles are, and just it's a yellow line, strip line there. I suggested to them before they even put the pavement back in. For me, as you know, I'm a totally blind individual. For me, so I could tell which side of the sidewalk to walk on, because like I can't tell what side of the sidewalk, and apparently they got a yellow line there, but my cane is not a. It doesn't have a built-in GPS and saying, there's a yellow line there. It's a painted yellow line going from one end to the other. And so the way I look at it, I walk on the whole sidewalk because I can't tell where the bicycle lane is or the sidewalk. So I'm just, I'm not sure why, for a person with a disability like myself, when I suggest these things, I don't know
Yvonne,
why.
And are there other places in Canada and the world that have sidewalks that help you out, so you know where you are on the sidewalk, or is this something you're looking to innovate?
No, it's like right now, and I think the councillors know this. Most of the sidewalks, not most of them, but a lot of them right now have like at the corners of the streets. When you go across the street, they have those little dome things there. You know.
Yep.
But I guess if they thought of those, why couldn't have thought about this, about the dome things that go down the middle of the sidewalk? So then, myself, like I said, it's not something. When I seen that at the bridge terminal, I said, well, okay, well, who thought of this? I didn't think of that at all. But I mean, they want to put bicycle lanes up. In my opinion, is up on sidewalks. Okay, well, then do something for someone like myself who's totally blind. Not a painted yellow line's not going to help me. So
fair.
That's why I suggested to Laura Nicol or whomever who was the councillor there at the time, that they should have put a truck dome, the same thing down the sidewalk, and so then I could tell what side of the sidewalk to walk on.
Thanks for the question, Yvonne. I'll get Councillor Steele to comment on it.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for your question. I think the pathways you're referring to are what we call multi-use pathways. So they're intended. Bike lanes people riding bikes can use them as well as pedestrians. I think you raise a really good point about people that have accessibility issues, including people that are blind. I'll bring that back to our accessibility committee and see what measures they're looking at putting in place for multi-use pathways. I think you've raised an issue that's important that we consider it, and I know that accessibility is really important for HRM, so we'll look into it. Thank you. Councillor
Hendsbee?
Well, those shared pathways, like a little small highway, center lane painted yellow. The only thing I would wonder if Yvonne was if you try to determine where the edge of the grass is in regards to the grass, what side of the pavement you're going to be on. If the grass is to your right, you're walking a certain direction with the pavement. So the only thing I can think of is that the only tactile differences between the pavement and the painted line would be the grassy edges.
And hopefully that there's not a bit of a curb there, because that would be dangerous, I would think.
Well, the pathway he's talking about it's in the middle of a green belt, so it's grass on both sides. So.
Very quickly, Councillor Hendsbee, when we're talking about pathways and trails, got an email from Scott, says, can't call in. I have a question for Councillor Hendsbee. I'm wondering if he has information on the time frame to join the Gatesbrook Greenway Trail to the Musquedarbat Harbour Trail. Currently very dangerous for pedestrians and cyclists who utilize these trails and access them between the Highway 7 shoulder. Even a paved shoulder would help. Thanks.
Well, that Highway number 7 in that jurisdiction is by the province. We're waiting for them to do more paving of the number 7 highway. I've been an advocate for the Blue Route. That's the Nova Scotia Bicycle Blue Route. That the number 7 highway has been designated as a part of that. Paved shoulders for everywhere when they get recapitalized. In regards to what he calls the Little River section between the Railway Museum and the Gatesbrook Trail, there's one section in the middle on Brian Dickey Drive. We're trying to get over the hurdle of a private road there at the present time. The new developer who bought the property there is looking at trying to increase the density of this development. But once he does that, he has to build the road to a public standard. Once the road is to a public standard, then we can look at the continuity right through the corridor. But as it stands now, the Trans-Canada Trail folks are not funding any projects until you have complete connectivity. And there's that gap in the middle of about 100 feet. So we got to get over that hurdle.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Councillors on the Hot Seat continues after the break.
Facts.
All right, welcome back. It's Councillors on the Hot Seat. It is a wonderful way to kick off a week. We're very pleased to have in the studio District 2 Councillor David Hendsbee, District 12 Councillor Janet Steele. Councillor Steele, you mentioned bike lanes earlier. I know that one of the areas, the corridors in your district that is exploring perhaps putting a bike lane in is that Parkland Drive corridor. I understand that there was a survey and some public consultation. Where are we at with that? When are we going to know, or when will there be a decision made?
Well, we are patient. Council is patiently waiting for the staff report coming out with the results of the survey and the results of the community consultation. I know I personally participated in some of the community consultation that took place at the Keshen Goodman Library. We had very active members of the community came out speaking for and against. Some of the issues and concerns that I've heard about are parking on Parkland Drive. The whole reason this came up now about bike lanes for Parkland is there's consideration of doing some repaving, recapitalization on Parkland Drive next year. So it made sense to look at whether bike lanes should be included or not. So they're looking at that. The Parkland Drive bike lanes would then be connected to Kearney Lake Road, but also up Regency Park Drive to Washmill Lake Drive, which already has bike lanes. So it's about connection. I am concerned about parking for the apartments on.
Well, that whole strip is apartments, right?
Yes, it is. I'm concerned about where the people that live there would park, and I'm hoping we heard their voices in the survey. We also have the mainland linear trail, which is a very important connection.
And a block off of it.
And a block off of it. Unfortunately, we don't have park lighting there, and it's not on the priority list for park lighting, as was discussed at council quite extensively last week. But I will say, when the trail was closed, I saw a lot more people cycling on Parkland Drive, and I'm on that street at least 3 times a day with my dogs or running and driving, going to meet with residents. And I do see people on their bikes on that street. I personally would stick to the trail. I'm afraid to be on the road without any protections. But the bottom line is, we don't know yet what the study will say. And then, of course, it would have to be, if it were deemed to be positive, contributing to connections and affordable transportation, then it would have to be integrated into budgets. And of course, we're taking a look at all the bike lanes to see, how effective and efficient they are, and what we can do for cost control pursuant to Deputy Mayor Mancini's motion around bike lanes.
The staff report aside, and I get it, and we'll wait to see the staff report, but does it make sense to you to put 2 protected bike lanes in an area that is predominantly apartment buildings, and the streets are, I drive down Parkland every day. The streets are clogged already. It's a wide street, so we're lucky that way, but there are cars that are there, and those people would have really nowhere to go.
Well, not when I'm driving, but when I'm driving with someone else, I count the cars. And there would still be parking on one side of the street. So my question that I don't yet have an answer to is, would there be enough parking on one side of the street? The other thing I want to say is, many of the people that live in the apartments are transit users, and also a number of those people could become cyclists with the availability of bike lanes.
Is one bike lane going to do that, though? I mean, most of them work in the downtown core, and we know that there's no connection between Parkland Drive and coming to HM. I couldn't ride from Parkland Drive to here, to the radio station, without riding on some pretty crazy streets. Yeah,
that's why we're trying to build the connections. I do think the in District 12, and you asked earlier what's happening. I think what's really important is the trails are back open,
right?
And the trails are an important piece of the connection. I wouldn't want to say that we shouldn't have the bike lanes, because I do think they're part of an affordable piece. And the other thing is, particularly with school open, I get about 4 requests a day to find a way to slow traffic on Parkland Drive. And I do know that putting bike lanes in and narrowing the street could slow cars.
Make it a little more dangerous, though, right? Because it's not as wide then.
It's not as wide, but that tip. I'm not a traffic
Neither am I.
I'm not a traffic engineer, but I've been told that if the street is narrower, the cars will move more slowly. And I live very close to there, and I too have sometimes been going down Parkland towards Kearney Lake Road with gravity pushing me down and the wide lanes pushing me faster than I should have been. So I do know that speeding is a big issue on that street, particularly in the evening.
As part of that piece, the safety piece, and I don't want to dominate this, but would it not, are traffic lights something that you would consider at Kearney Lake Road, and was that Langbray or Lancaster that's there?
Oh, that's very interesting. I've seen some requests for that. I haven't had a chance to talk to staff about whether that would work or not. There certainly are a lot of pedestrians crossing Parkland Drive, particularly at Langbray. I take the bus, and that's my bus stop, so I watch that in the morning. And I see, despite the fact that we have two crossing guards there,
yep.
Despite the fact that there's two crossing guards there, it is dangerous. I know that residents are pleased, some residents are pleased, I should say, with the new speed bumps or speed cushions on Langbray Drive, and they feel that's slowing cars somewhat.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Very quickly, let's go to Fred. Fred, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Good. Just a little bit of clarity in regard to the living wage. The living wage model is not solely based on an employee's hourly rate. It also includes their benefits and any perks that the employee would receive. So if they were able to take a vehicle home, so their living wage would encompass their hourly rate plus any benefits that they get.
Fair.
So it's not solely just based on their hourly rate.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
902-405-6000. Ken gets the last word today. Ken, how are you?
Good. How are you, Todd?
Good. Question for the councillors, please.
Just a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the federal vehicles and that don't have insurance. My question is, do we have the electric buses yet? And if we don't, when we get them, are they going to be insured? Because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when they catch on fire. And how much do we stand to lose per bus?
I can answer the first question myself. In fact, I just saw one drive by on Roby Street. It just went down towards Almond. So there are electric buses out there already. I do believe there's a good chunk of them, is there not? I think. Any idea, Councillor?
I think we have 12 in operation right now.
Yeah. We're all self-insured with the municipality, so we kind of have our own insurance policies.
Do you know what the difference is between the insurance for the electric buses compared to the diesel buses? Because I imagine that's quite the jump.
I don't know that offhand. I could certainly try and find that out.
That would be nice. I'd like to know that, because most of the municipal stuff or the federal stuff and that are not insured.
Yeah, no, I work for the federal government. We self-insured our vehicles. I understand that concept. If you leave your contact information, we can get back to you.
Okay, that'd be cool.
I'm going to put you on hold, Ken, and Vanessa will grab that from you, all right?
Okay, thanks.
And that's going to wrap it up. Thank you very much to our councillors. David Hendsbee from District 2. They're counting down, David. This is your last term, so soon you'll be calling in as opposed to sitting in, right?
No.
And thanks to District 12 Councillor Janet Steele for joining us today. We're going to stop, take a break, get an update on the news, and on the other side of it, it's time for the open hour. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Manic Mondays after the break. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. It's time now for Manic Monday, the Monday Meltdown, whatever you want to call it. It's the open hour, your chance to talk about whatever it is on your mind. I've got a couple of things I'm curious to your thoughts on. A bit of a discussion during Councillors on the Hot Seat about a deed tax increase. This from the CBC. Halifax exploring the idea of raising the deed transfer tax to help with looming financial pressures, but Any changes could only come with approval from the province. In recent months, councillors for HRM have been discussing how to pay for infrastructure needed to support the rapidly growing capital city, that's us, without placing major burden on residents. The municipality has more than $2 billion in capital projects on the books over the next 4 years, including a new police station, redevelopment of the Halifax Forum. Last week, Councillor Sam Austin put a motion forth that was passed by council asking staff to examine how HRM could raise the deed transfer tax to help address those big ticket items. Councillor Austin said in an interview to the CBC that no one likes to pay more, but also no one likes to have your infrastructure falling apart, sitting in traffic, not having a transit system that can deliver, and not having the recreation facilities. He goes on to say, and I quote, "At certain point in politics, you have to have an honest conversation with people about if you want these things, and they have to be paid for somehow." So no numbers in this motion. I'm sure that will come from the staff report that has been ordered as a result of council's vote. But what Councillor Austin suggested would be a tiered system that would mirror some other jurisdictions, I think some in BC, that would be based a different rate for residential, for commercial industrial, also a different rate based on the value of the home. But if you were listening to councillors on the hot seat the previous hour here on the program, caller Chris raised an interesting point during that segment. This value of this tax increases every year, as does the value of your home. If you were listening to Mortgage 101 on the weekend with Clinton Wilkins, and if you missed it, you can grab that podcast on our website. Clinton is of the opinion, and he gets lots of mortgages out there, that we see about a 3% increase in value every year. So you can factor that into your thoughts on this. The amount that council gets, or that the city gets from this detransfer tax, goes up every year. And if Clinton's right, by about 3%. Caller Chris said that hands off, you're already getting an increase on this every year. Your thoughts on the deed transfer tax. Also, just for the point of clarification, and I have said it here many times, that there are many people that listen to this program much smarter than I. I had alluded that I'd heard from people that were concerned about their retirements with the deed transfer tax. Of course, Colin, who is in the realty business, told us that it isn't paid by the seller. It negatively impacts the buyer's ability to purchase, not take away from the seller's funds. So let's just get that out there and make sure that it's clear that it's the buyer that pays this, not the seller. But I wonder if the deed transfer tax goes up, if that impacts the bottom line on a house. It may not. It may. I don't know. Deed transfer tax. Should the municipality take a look at increasing the amount of money that it collects from you from a buyer when they buy a home? As you heard from Councillor Steele from District 12, when you buy a new home, you're not capped at these property value increases, right? So you've got that to contend with, and if council moves forward with this, then an increase in the number of dollars that you have to hand over when you purchase a home. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. And just very quickly before we go to the phone lines, programming note to pass along to you here on the program. Tomorrow is Tuesday, and that will be a special edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. And by special, I mean a pretty cool edition of the Todd Veinotte Show, because we have just found out that the Premier of Nova Scotia, Tim Houston, will be in the studio at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. He will be here for the entire hour, and we'll be answering your questions. We've done this in the past, and it has been a pretty vigorous conversation, and the Premier seems to enjoy himself when he does this, so he's going to do it again in advance of a new session of the legislature opening. Premier Tim Houston here at 11 o'clock on Tuesday. That's tomorrow. So make sure you bookmark that. Make sure you put a note on your phone. Make sure you put a big circle on your calendar, and I will urge you to get your calls in early so that you're not disappointed. 902-405-6000, 902-405-6000. Enough of me talking. Let's get to the phone lines, and we welcome Chris to the program. Chris, how are you?
Morning, Dan.
What's on your mind today, sir?
Well, I just called for a couple reasons, really. The first one was just to say I stand corrected about the sequestering of carbon by the softwood trees. I was a little distracted, and
that's fair.
They do sequester it, although they are not nearly
as much
efficient as the hardwoods.
I did my own research on that, Chris, after you called, and it is in fact true that they do, but hardwood trees or deciduous trees do a better job.
They also cool the forest off in the summertime. The hardwoods do. But I won't take up any more of your time on that. But I would like you to read two articles if you get a chance.
Sure.
One was in the opinion piece on Saturday's Chronicle Herald, B2, I believe the page is.
Okay.
About all of this spraying and what it's doing to the forests and the fire hazard that it's posing.
Okay. Sure.
The other one is the September edition of the Masthead News. In that article in the Masthead News, there is a proposed clear cutting for the Ingram River Wilderness area.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I just want you to read those two articles, and then you can make your decision whether or not you still think the government is acting in our best interests in this thing. So
I will do that.
I'll leave you with it, Dan. You have yourself a good week.
Appreciate it, sir. 902-405-6000, 902-405-6000. I haven't read the article, so I don't want to comment on it, but we do know that the Ingram River, if it's the Ingram River I'm thinking of, around Ingram Ports and out towards the old over the old highway where the roundabout is now, and out to, I think it's exit 6, exit 5? Anyway, I stand to be corrected on that. That has seen a significant amount of deforesting there just to put the divided highway through. So I'm going to read that article with interest. 902-405-6000 is the number, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. The open hour continues after the break. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. It's the Monday Meltdown Open Hour, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Your chance to talk about whatever it is on your mind. We've had a few discussions so far on things like the deed transfer tax. City Council has passed a motion to get a staff report done on this to take a look at maybe building a tiered system for your properties. A tax increase. I don't think that's ever going to be good news to anybody, but caller Chris raises a lot of interesting points on this program, but today was rather poignant, saying that, hey, wait a minute, that tax, the value that the HRM gets from that tax goes up every year because people's property value goes up every year, and it's based on your property value number. 902-405-6000 is the number. Let's welcome Mike to the program. Mike, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. It's kind of sad that I was going to call in and I waited too late, but I was going to ask these people if they realize that they are servants to us. I think that gets very overlooked. And these guys, they avoid answering. Like, you had a couple of callers on there, and they had excellent points. One you just pointed out. And it's like, even when the person was talking about, the different things that they're doing to add to the tax base and everything,
right?
The things that they're not deleting, that they could be opting out of, like the electric buses and a good point came up there when you were talking about the, what's the break point of actually these buses making, paying for themselves, right, like as far as the savings on fuel and stuff like that. It's not going to be 2030. There's no way. Those buses are millions and millions of dollars, and you still have to pay for electricity. So there's still some cost going in. So the savings between fuel and electricity, it's kind of like putting solar panels on your home. But I hate how deceptive they are sometimes in leaving. Like, they're really quick to, I forget the female's name that was on, but
Councillors Steele.
She alluded to all these people in her area that she talks to every day, and they really want more bike lanes, and they really want. These are statistics that we can't even put our hands on because it's just something somebody said. Do you take them at their word, or
I get your point, Mike, and I agree with it to a point. But I can, with all kidding aside, can say that I'm sure that councillors' phones ring quite often with people calling them with regards to whatever issue.
But it always seems like when they speak of it,
right, they
don't speak about the negative calls.
Understood. Yep.
It's always about the positive and people in favor of. But I think it's really important. And some of the, like the speed bumps, we have never heard. And I mean, they are everywhere. And I drive all day, every day. And what was the cost of all that to build one of those asphalt humps? I mean, that had to be at least $10,000 a pop.
Oh,
I know how much asphalt is.
I would probably be more than that, I would think.
Well, and I was just kind of shooting that number out as a guess. But, so there was millions and millions of dollars. And the bottom line is it was about slowing people down in their own subdivisions and stuff. But we don't have the policing. But they won't add to the policing. They keep telling us that they have a shortage in policing. So anyway, I just find it very frustrating. And I think that they forget sometimes that they are servants to us. And, the other point I was going to make is never mind, Dan. It's gone now. But
okay.
Anyway, buddy, Alzheimer's.
All right, Mike, I appreciate it. 902-405-6000, 902-405-6000, or 1-877-801-8255 is the telephone number. It's open hour. It's time for you to talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. Let's welcome Joe to the program. Joe, how are you?
I'm good, Dan. Thanks for taking my call. While I was online waiting in queue, I realized that a caller either texted or made a statement about Sam Austin's comments on the B transfer tax.
Yep.
So my question was sort of answered. I haven't owned a home for decades, but you alluded to the fact that the D transfer tax is a percentage of the assessed value or the sale value.
I would imagine it's probably it would be the sale value. I would imagine because the assessed value could be out to lunch, right? Because sometimes You're
guessing. You're saying you believe. You don't.
Well, why would it be on the assessed value?
Well, I'm not arguing that point. I'm trying to get to my point.
Okay, get to your point.
The point is, if it's a percentage of either the assessed or the sale value,
right?
Sam Austin is way off the mark and saying, well, that has to be increased. The fact is, a percentage is already a built-in factor for increasing.
Yeah, and I think that's what I said, Joe, is that it goes up 3% every year, right?
Well, there's parts I heard and parts I didn't hear, but the fact is, if we go with Sam Austin's mentality, he's double taxing people. He also there's a percentage of the inflated cost of the houses, plus he wants to raise a percentage. And then he wants to spend money on a staff report, which costs us a lot of money. And all he has to really do is use his common sense. A percentage factor will cover the eventualities of everything going up.
Yep.
And if we did that with everything, it would be a more fair system. But I think your previous caller just alluded to the fact that councillors not being transparent and upfront. I think a lot of it is their lack of competence about the information. They can't cover all subjects all the time for every place. But a lot of it, if they were more straightforward, just say, I really don't know, and I'll get back to you, and really get back to us, and they don't. So there's a lot of moving parts to this whole scenario about city council and what they're doing. I don't have a lot of confidence in city council. Actually, I have very little, but I'm hoping. I know there's some good councillors, but there's too many people that are entering the races to get for the municipal elections, and a lot of the people, all we know about them is a sales pitch they give us before the election, and after that, we really don't know much about their competence in any of the areas that they're going to have jurisdiction over. So, Sam, wake up! You know, you're giving us information that you're admitting isn't correct. He wants to raise the property deed transfer taxes twice is what he's trying to do. Thanks, Dan.
Have a good one, Joe. 902-405-6000, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255 is the number. It goes up every year. The value of your property goes up every year. And to be 100% clear, I'm not sure what that fee is charged. I would assume it's on the sale value, but I stand to be corrected on that. But that being said, people in the industry tell me that it's about a 3% increase, and other jurisdictions across the country, by the way, are seeing decreases in their sale prices. Was talking with Clinton Wilkins on the weekend, who said that there are some condo owners in Toronto that are seeing 20-25% drop in the value of their property. That would scare the heck out of me. But the Atlantic Canada and particularly Nova Scotia seem to be insulated from that, at least for now, and. But that goes up every year. And to add this extra tax on, I don't know if by definition, if it's double dipping, but it certainly feels like it would be a much larger increase than just adding an extra percent on, right? Going to stop, take another break. The open hour will continue on the other side. Telephone lines, everybody, wide open if you want to get on, talk about whatever it is you want. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. The open hour continues after the news. All right, welcome back. It's a Monday. That is for sure, and the reason why it is, we're having technical problems on our end. So Vanessa is working very quickly on that to try and get things rectified, and our engineers will be in the studio here very quickly to take a look to see what is going on. But anyway, technology is a wonderful thing, isn't it? And it works fantastic when it works, and when it doesn't, it doesn't. So hopefully our engineers can figure out what's going on with it, and we can move forward. But the telephones are working, as I understand it. And my mic's working, so we will continue with the open hour here on the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Ahlstrand, by the way. 902-405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-801-8255. You can help me out here a bunch if you call in. Lots of lines open if you want to join the conversation. It's the Monday meltdown, the Manic Monday open hour, your chance to talk about whatever it is on your mind, something that you want to bring up, something you want to discuss, something you heard, something you didn't hear. Perfect opportunity to do so. Again, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's go to the phones, and we welcome Kirk to the program. Kirk, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. And yourself?
Good. What's on your mind today, sir?
Well, the reason why I'm calling is I live on Rocky Lake Drive in Bedford.
Yep.
And there's... as of recent, in the last year or so, they opened up the new highway just off of Duke Street.
Yes.
And there's that busy intersection, and a little further down the road, along Rocky Lake Drive, from the intersection is the stone quarry. Now, between Rocky Lake Elementary and Rocky Lake Junior High, there are absolutely no crosswalks along that road whatsoever, and there's only the sidewalk on one side of the street, at one side of the road.
Right.
Now, all last year, my daughter had to walk a full kilometer, and with hopefully she would be able to cross the road. Now, I see students constantly every day walking down there, walking to the junior high and walking home, and with no means to cross the road safely with no crosswalks. There's only one crosswalk that's down by Rocky Lake Elementary, which is about almost a kilometer away from the intersection and Rocky Lake Junior High. And I've called 311. I've spoken to the city. I've asked them about it. They said they would put it under review. It's been a constant battle with really no straight answer whatsoever. And it's really concerning, as I'm sure you could understand.
No, absolutely.
Because yeah, it's, you know, it's a safety thing. Here's all these children, and especially wintertime, you know, snow plows go down there, and the roads are all up, and, you know, there's recipe for disaster. And God forbid anyone would ever, well, I'm sure you can understand.
Oh, absolutely understand. It doesn't make any sense to me with 2 schools there not having a couple of crosswalks with guards.
Yes. Yeah, there's nothing. And especially with the fact that there's a sidewalk only on one side of the road.
Right.
I've spoken to my other neighbors. They have children. And also the school bus that picks up children picks them up on the same side as the sidewalk, and for younger children. And so I've spoken to my neighbors. They said they've called and they've been basically told the same thing. Last time I spoke with somebody from Department of Highways and Safety, and that they said that they would put up a vehicle counter, and that was over a year ago, and I still haven't seen that.
Kirk, how busy is the road?
Right now, what's that?
How busy is the road? I'm familiar with the area, but I'm not there during the busy times.
The road in the morning during those times, it's very busy.
Right.
I would consider it to be very busy. There's been times when I've had to wait with my daughter in the morning, more than 5, almost 10 minutes for a break in the traffic to walk her across the street so she could get to school.
Councillor St. Amand, is that who your councillor is?
Actually, no, I do not. I apologize for my lack of knowledge.
All right. Kirk, I appreciate you raising it. Hopefully we can get something done for you.
Yes, thank you. That would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for hearing me out. And I got to say thank you for giving everybody a voice on your show. It's absolutely fantastic.
Kirk, appreciate it, sir.
Okay, you have a good day.
902-405-6000, 902-405-6000. I'm not sure if Councillor St. Amand that's his part of his jurisdiction or not, but hopefully that somebody there is listening. That doesn't sound like it's very safe considering how busy Rocky Lake Road is and that there are 2 schools there. And if Kirk is correct, a long way between crosswalks, if any. I understand the sidewalks on one side of the street or the other. That obviously is a big piece of infrastructure, but it isn't a big piece of infrastructure to have some crosswalks at least closer to the school so that kids on one side can get across safely rather than and I'm going to date myself here, playing Frogger and trying to get across the street. Frogger was a video game for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. 902-405-6000. It's 902-405-6000. Let's welcome Carlos to the program. Carlos, how are you?
I'm good. How are you then?
Good. What's on your mind today, sir?
So, yes, I do support the initiative to increase the DE transfer tax.
Okay.
Because we do need to have some funds to help our infrastructure. And as far as I understood, it can be just for those above $1 million house.
No, that the from what I understand is that they're looking at a tiered system so that people under $1 million would pay one rate and people over, or whatever the number is, if it's $1 or $2 million, would pay a different rate. So those that have more expensive properties would pay more.
And that seems really fair, actually. That's called progressive tax. We can't just assume that, it has increased 3% over because the market is increasing, and it's always be. I've been in Halifax for over 20 years. Back in 2003, 2004, all the way to 2007, the prices were going down. And then what? Our budget will be limited because we're not longer bringing. It shouldn't matter if the market is going up or down. The tax should be there, and I fully support, including the division between the commercial and home. Yeah, for sure. If I'm buying a property to make money, absolutely should pay more than a family who's just buying a house to live. Absolutely.
That part I'll agree with you on, Carlos. I really think that there should be a consideration for the zoning of the property.
Yeah, and I just don't think that the income of the city based on the transfer should depend on the market. If it's going up, okay, we have no money. If it's going down, and now what? We are stuck. The infrastructure is still there, it's still at the same, and now we have less money. So we can't just say, it's going up. Yeah, but not long ago, it was going down.
Carlos, you said you lived in HRM for 20 years. Do you own property? Do you have a house, or are you a renter?
Yes.
How much has your assessed value of your house gone up in those 20 years?
That's a good question now.
Probably by a whole bunch, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So,
sure, but that's fine because but when I'm buying something, look, over $1 million, I'm sure people are not going to be forced to sell their Lamborghini to pay for the tax. It's fair enough.
$1 million isn't what it was 20 years ago, Carlos. I will tell you that most properties here are $1 million properties.
Okay, my friend.
Have a good one.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
902-405-6000. And I know, and maybe I'm on the upper end of things, but I think the average price, again, going back to the conversation I had on the weekend on Mortgage 101, I think Clinton said something along the lines, the average price in HRM is like 600 and change. Is that, I hate to misquote myself, but I think that's where it's about. So that means that that there are a number of properties, particularly in the urban areas, that are very close to, if not at $1 million. So $1 million property today isn't what $1 million property was 20 years ago. That is for sure. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Lots of lines open if you want to get in. We're going to take another break. Hopefully Wide Orbit is working. Vanessa, is it working? I got a thumbs up, so we're going to try and take a commercial break. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. As you can tell, we're still experiencing some technical difficulties as our engineers work their fingers to the bone to try and get things up and running. The good news is the telephone lines are working, and we can. My mic's still working. At least I think it is. So that's a good thing, and we'll continue the open hour here for the next 10 minutes or so. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255 is the number. Let's go back to the phones and welcome Ken to the program. Ken, how are you?
Hey, I'm not too bad. I just got a question.
Sure.
Right? It's been on my mind, and my wife even made a little joke about it. That bridge on Lucasville Road.
Okay.
Are they making a career out of that? Because my wife says, that bridge is like probably where they send people there to learn how to build bridges.
I'm not sure.
It seems like
I haven't been up there in a while, so you have to fill me in on what's the problem with the bridge.
Well, you're gonna ask. Lucasville Road is the longest road from here to go down to. Oh my God.
Hammond's Plains.
Hammond's Plains. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
But right when you're but on the lower Sackville side, there's a bridge.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay, it seems like for the last 2 years, longer maybe, they've been building that bridge. They built it, and then they stopped. Then they went and broke down another piece, and they just keep working on that bridge. What is going on with that bridge?
Maybe somebody out there can tell us. Ken, I don't know.
I would like to ask some of the drivers who's probably been going back and forth there for the last 2 or 3 something years because it's just weird. That's all I want to say. It's just so funny. Okay.
Fair enough.
You have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, Ken. 902-405-6000, 902-405-6000. I will admit, has been a while since I've driven down the Lucasville Road, but I can imagine that having bridge construction there for that long certainly would be something that would impede traffic. Is that the right way to say that? Let's go back to the phones and welcome Nick to the show. Nick, how are you?
Hey, doing good. You?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Oh, man, 2 things. First thing, pretty mild. The wood ban there, just wondering if you got any information on down here, South Shore, Lunenburg County. Are they moving that at all?
No, as I understand, it's still closed. I think that the line is kind of goes across the province from the Lunenburg Halifax County line straight across, and then south of there, it's all still closed. And I agree. I get it. I have some places I'd really like to go visit in Lunenburg County, but I still can't.
Yes, I'm down in New Germany and got an acreage here, and I wake up every morning. I got cleared field, and it's wet. Like the ground is wet, dark. I seeded the grass. Anyway, I just think it's a bit, suspicious.
It would it would be. Well, I'll tell you what, Nick. The Premier is on the program tomorrow. He's going to be here at 11 o'clock for an hour. And if somebody doesn't ask the question, I certainly will.
All right, yeah. It just leads me to think about this corruption. The second point kind of, so, I've been looking pretty normal guy my whole life, followed the rules, paid the tax. And I got sick there a few years ago, autoimmune disease. Don't know really what caused it.
Sorry to hear that.
I did all this. Yeah, it's all good. I've done the steroid shots, the creams, the treatments. It actually kind of made a difference, and it's crazy. I took the detox, like parasitic detox, heavy metal detox.
Okay.
What I come to find out? The autoimmune issue, alopecia, completely gone.
Right.
But I was also struggling with cavities my whole life. And I brought to do this. Come to find out the parasites and stuff was not allowing me to absorb the calcium in my diet or any other things, leading to all these problems. And I'm like, I look online and got to go into the fringes and whatnot. But I come to think, with all these lockdowns and all this sick people, it seems to me that there's something far more sinister going on, because the treatment, I tell you, was cheap, quick, zero side effect, and yet the amount of money I spent for steroids and treatments and creams, and then you got these climate lockdowns. I just want to wonder there, in the wintertime when the snow don't get plowed, are we going to be banned from the roads? And yeah, thank you.
Nick, I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thanks.
902-405-6000, 902-405-6000, or 1-877-801-8255. A couple of notes to pass along from the people that are smarter than me, and that's those of you listening to the program. We've been talking about the D tax, and I wasn't 100% sure on where that tax gets charged. I had a couple of you write in and call in to say that the tax goes on the sale price. That makes sense to me. So that has been cleared up. So the sale price of your home, that is is where the D tax goes. But we do see that go up every year, at least at this point. And will we see a market downturn? Likely, but at least not at this point. Also, I got a couple of you saying that there's a town hall tonight that they're very interested in going to. It's at the Kinsman Hall, Community Town Hall on First Lake Drive. It's with the Mayor, Andy Fillmore, and, of course, the Councillor for the Community, Bill DeGillis, who's been on this program. They'll be there tonight from 6 until 7, so I hope that you get an opportunity to get down there and ask some questions of the people. And the Lucasville Road Bridge that people were talking about. The bridge was this from Michael, by the way. The bridge was re-engineered to house a water main for future development. Currently, there is a 16 water main on the left side heading into Hammonds Plains, and they're going to install another water main. Very frustrating to most, but it had to be reinforced to house the new infrastructure as part of that, and that from Michael. So hopefully we got some answers to your questions there. As I mentioned to our previous caller, and I will mention a couple more times here on the program, tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Am I 11 o'clock? The premier's at 11 o'clock, right? Vanessa gave me that look. I thought I said something wrong. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we will be welcoming the Premier into the studio to answer your questions, but we don't want to take away your open hour. So, from 11 to 12 tomorrow, Premier Houston will be here. He'll be here to take your questions. So if you have questions like our previous caller had, there's your opportunity to get it right from the Premier himself. He'll be here for an hour. So make sure you get your calls in early, and that way you'll avoid disappointment. Dr. Rob is going to take the week off this week so that we can open up the telephone lines after the Premier's visit, because I'm sure you'll want to discuss some of the things that he had to say. So that is the change up on the program tomorrow. I hope that you participate. I hope to hear from a lot of you and get your questions ready, because he does this maybe a couple times a year now with us, and I know he enjoys it. And just as a sidebar, this will be, I think, the third one. I think Todd's done the other ones, but I think this will be my third time with the Premier of Nova Scotia, and I've been doing this for some time, both on this side of the mic and on the other. And I will tell you that when the Premier comes here, he walks in and has a piece of paper, empty piece of paper and a pen. So for somebody that has as many files open as the Premier of Nova Scotia has, he is able to balance all of that stuff when you ask the questions. I've seen others in the past come in here to do these things, if they even agree to do it, with binders of information, right? They have everything all tabbed out and ready to go, so that if you ask a question about bike lanes, or you ask a question about bridge tolls, or you ask a question about spraying in the woods, or if you ask a question about fire bans, they have it all kind of indexed and ready to go. Premier Houston doesn't do that. And I can tell you that that's not easy to do. And for him to do this on more than one occasion, he does this three times a year. I take my hat off to him, because that's not an easy seat to sit in. And we're looking forward to having him here on the program tomorrow. So don't forget, get your calls in early, because we don't want you to be disappointed. 902-405-6000, 902-405-6000, or 1-877-801-8255. Email from John with regards to the deed tax. It reads, simple question: how much has HRM collected over the last 5 years? And then he writes, I assume that happens, they get more each year. That is from our friend John. Also, Rob, kind of tongue-in-cheek, I think, with regards to the councillors on the hot seat. If you were listening to the program, you heard frequent caller Chris, and now frequent caller Nicole joined the program, who raised some very interesting points, as they normally do when they call in here. This caller, Rob, says maybe we should hire Chris and Nicole and then free up the other 13 council seats. Just saying. That's going to do it, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time with us, dialing the numbers and joining the show. I truly appreciate it, but the show is certainly not over. We've got a big hour planned for you here in hour number 3 of the program today. We're going to get an update here right after the news at noon on the Hanwell fire. HRFE District Chief Stephen Bussey will be joining us to get us the very latest on that situation out there in Middle Sackville. What a terrible, terrible fire last night. We'll have and get the very latest with District Chief Bussey as part of the program for hour number 3. We're also going to have a conversation with one of the owners of the Halifax Mooseheads. Let's not forget, Mooseheads regular season kicks off Friday night. They're on the road in Charlottetown. Home opener is on Saturday. All the action live right here on 95.7 News Radio, with Gareth McDonald's back for yet another season of Mooseheads hockey. We'll have a conversation with the ownership group and Peter Simon about what's next for the Moose. What can we expect this season, and what can we expect in the future from these new owners? Can we still call them new owners? They've been the owners for a couple of years now, but I guess they are the newest owners of the Halifax Mooseheads. All that and more coming up in hour number 3. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes.
Facts.
Well, welcome to hour number 3 of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. Hope you're having a lovely Monday. As I look out the window, I see sunshine, and I see maybe nice late summer, early fall temperatures out there. But I know there's a number of people out there that are listening to the show today and that have been affected by what was a very, very large fire last night up in Middle Sackville. Halifax fire crews called to the scene just after midnight, I understand, and to find a heavy fire situation in an apartment building in Middle Sackville on Hanwell Drive. Very pleased to welcome to the program today Chief of Operations Stephen Bussey. Stephen, how are you?
Good. How are you, Dan?
I am well. I guess let's start with the very latest. Where are we at with the fire? Is it out?
The fire is now out, yes.
Okay. The call came in around midnight last night?
Yep, 12:07.
12:07, and when your crews arrived, what did they see?
They had heavy fire on the exterior of the structure, as well as smoke all through the structure.
All right, and this did we know where it started? Did we know where the origin was?
As of this time, no, we do not.
We do not know. So it got up into the roof, right?
It did, yes.
And the damage, the amount of damage into the roof structure as a result of the fire is what?
The roof is gone.
Oh, the roof is gone. So that building now not structurally safe, right?
That is correct.
And as I understand it, Stephen, evacuation obviously from that building, but you also evacuated a number of residents nearby. Is there a reason why? Was it just because of the volume of the fire?
With the volume of fire and the direction of smoke / particles of combustion,
right.
We deemed it necessary that just out of abundance of caution to clear out the area around it.
So, as I understand it, this was a 3-alarm fire. Can you tell me what the difference is between a single alarm and a 3-alarm fire?
Yep. So a single alarm fire would bring you 3 engines, 1 aerial, our tactical unit, as well as support units. And for every alarm that goes beyond the first, it's an extra 2 engines and an extra aerial as well.
Now, I would imagine in a situation like this with a large building like that, how did you attack the fire? Did you go inside, or did you attack it from outside, or did you do a combination of both?
So it was a combination of both. The crews knocked down as what they could see on the exterior before making entry into the interior.
Right.
And they put up a valiant fight inside. The crews worked extremely hard. However, obviously we still lost the roof.
Right. The good news part of this, if there's any good news, is that nobody was injured in this fire.
Not that we're aware of.
Right. So tell me a little bit about were people out when you arrived, or did you work to get them out, or how did that roll out?
There was some rescues that were conducted when we first got there. I'm not sure of the total number as of right now, but there was people who had to be brought out. And but yeah, the crews, like I said, they worked in coordination, and everyone made it out safely.
Stephen, what happens next now? Do fire investigators take over the scene?
Yep. So our fire investigators are on the way. Our crews have been on scene since last night. They're just currently working on make sure that there was no flare-ups, and as well as retrieving personal documents and personal possessions for occupants in the building.
And that was my next question. Those that live in the building, are they going to be allowed access to get things, or is it is it just not safe enough?
It's not safe to go in, so our crews are making entry based on directions from the public, whoever lives in the building, and they're bringing out what's necessary for those individuals.
Since we don't know where it started, obvious at this point we don't know what started it, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So the fire investigators will be on the scene, I would imagine, for some time. It's a large fire.
It is a large fire, and like I said, they're on their way right now, and hopefully they will be there probably within the next half hour.
The firefighters worked through the night on that, obviously tired bunch.
Yes, they were a tired bunch. They were relieved at 8 o'clock this morning.
Right, so we've had a second shift of people through there.
Yes, we have.
So to sum things up, Stephen, fire's out. We don't know where it started. We don't know how it started, but the building is a total loss, and crews are doing the best they can to get into it and get some stuff out for people that have been displaced.
That is correct, Dan.
Stephen, appreciate it, sir.
All right.
Have a good one.
Thank you. You as well. Bye.
Stephen Bussey is the District Chief of Operations for Halifax Fire, and this fire obviously is going to have a lasting impact. I think we talked about it during Councillors on the Hot Seat. I think there was 100 and change units in the building, and the building is, as Stephen told us, is a complete loss. So those units will be off the market, and I would imagine be off the market for some time. So there are a significant number of people out there that will be looking for accommodations. It's just awful, just absolutely awful. And as somebody that lives in an apartment building, this is my greatest fear. That we could see. I mean, obviously it can happen. We just saw it happen last night. Something like this happen, and then what, right? My heart goes out to the people displaced on this. It is a terrible situation. I know that HRM has set up some kind of a evacuation center. It opened at 7 o'clock this morning at Springfield Lake Recreation Center. But the good news is that there were no injuries reported from this fire. No firefighters were hurt. Nobody living in the building was hurt. And that, I guess, is the silver lining in this dark cloud. We will keep you updated on the ongoing investigation into that. As Stephen told us, it begins in about a half an hour. Fire investigators will be pouring over that scene, I would imagine, for a next little while. It's a large fire. It completely destroyed the roof of the building. It really went up, and it was belching smoke everywhere, and the pictures from it were just terrifying to look at from last night. Anyway, I always say it, I often say it, and I will continue to say it here on the program, that I do sleep better at night knowing that Halifax Fire and all of those hardworking crews are on the scene and put their lives on the line to rescue us and to keep us safe. I really do sleep better at night knowing that they're out there. We're going to stop and take another break here on the program, but the show's not over. We're going to continue our discussion about tender prices and tender prices for homes. We saw a story come across the wires on the weekend that Canada is planning to build 4,000 homes across the country. Public housing projects aside, this is a different file, of course, but some concern from the province about the high cost of building these homes and having the province to maybe do a bit of a rethink. And the person in charge of this file is Colton LeBlanc, the minister, and he will be our guest. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand, back in minutes.
Axe.
Welcome back. This is the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand on a Monday. This CBC article from last week reads, Nova Scotia Cabinet Minister responsible for housing says tenders that came back much higher than expected for proposed public housing projects have his government considering alternative approaches like pre-approved designs to help keep costs under control while speeding up a process that's only to date seen 25 units built. Growth and Development Minister Colton LeBlanc said other considerations include looking at the proximity of proposed sites to utilities, looking for serviced land, and ensuring land is being used that's, quote, best suited for the construction of public housing units. Very pleased to welcome to the program here on the phone Growth and Development Minister Colton LeBlanc. Minister LeBlanc, thanks for coming.
My pleasure, Dan. How are you?
I'm well, sir. Let's start there. Were you a little surprised when these tenders came back and they were higher than you had anticipated?
Well, certainly we're seeing increased price of construction across the province, or, actually across the country. And, as a government, we still remain committed to delivering these projects. We know that we need them, and they represent the largest investment in new public housing builds in more than 30 years. So that work continues. That does not impact our commitment to deliver these new homes, but we're continuing with due diligence and going through some of those elements that you mentioned that were referred to in the story and ensuring that we can deliver those projects, but while also being responsible with taxpayer dollars.
You've committed to 464 new public housing units and I think 51 modular housing units. Do you still think that's attainable?
Certainly, I think the need's been there. The need has been there for some time now. But as a government, I don't think we've shied away from investing in Nova Scotians and making sure that we have the infrastructure in place that our province can continue to grow. And in this case, supporting Nova Scotians with housing. And public housing is one part of the equation here. It's not the only solution to the challenges that we're seeing in housing. It's investments in our community housing sector, a sector that's been long neglected. Our government has increased our investments in the sector by 10 times and have been able to preserve and create over 3,000 affordable homes across the province. So this is long-standing issues that our province has faced that previous governments have perhaps ignored, but we're tackling head-on.
The need is well known, Minister. I don't think anybody would argue that point with you. But with these increased estimates, the increased cost to build these 464 homes, can we pay the bills, I guess is the question.
Certainly, again, we recognize that we need to make these investments and that it requires a bit more due diligence work. And so looking at elements that could perhaps save some dollars at the end, like pre-approved or pre-designed footprints, and that we're not redesigning, a duplex in every different part of the province. So there's a number of different tools that we're looking at. We've brought in Build Nova Scotia. They are a significant player in dealing with critical and major infrastructure projects in this province. So we're bringing and leaning into their expertise, but certainly our commitment to building more and new public housing, whether that even looks at modular and off-site construction. These are commitments that our government has made and will follow through on, but also looking at the existing over 12,000 public housing units that we have, making sure we're making the necessary upgrades and maximizing that stock of public housing unit to make sure that the most vulnerable Nova Scotians have a place to call home.
Mr. LeBlanc, whenever we talk about affordable housing, whenever we talk about different plans, different iterations of this, I always take calls from people that are in the industry saying, okay, it's great to have these plans, and again, the need is well known, but there's a labor shortage out there, and there is big concern in the construction community that there's enough people to actually build these homes. Are you confident there is?
Certainly, this is a topic that has come up in many communities. When I've traveled the province this summer, is the need for skilled trades, and I think we are uniquely positioned in Nova Scotia. We have a number of off-site and modular companies that do amazing work, and I think we have an opportunity to scale up and help them scale up, and perhaps look at robotics and artificial intelligence to build faster and fill part of that skilled trades pool. But certainly, we have to look at things differently. I think the necessity to look at doing that is of top priority, but building more and also doing it faster. And I think that speaks to our government's initiatives on creating the executive panel on housing and HRM to get developments underway. We had the opportunity to tour a number of the special planning areas in HRM, and there are thousands of units that are now built, some of which are occupied, that were not there a number of years ago, and these are projects that were shovel ready. So we will continue to do everything within our power as a government to work with other levels of government, work with community partners, work with the private sector to build more homes, because it is a key issue for many Nova Scotians.
Obviously, to build new public housing, we need land to build it on. Do we have enough land secured, or is that all part of this mix?
So certainly, land, we don't make any more land. That's one thing for sure. And we've looked at, as a province, provincially owned land and made that available. And certainly part of the conversations that are underway for the new public housing build is looking at, private land and perhaps land with that's owned by municipalities, that's land that's serviced. So in all hopes to reduce the cost. So that work is underway.
Is that provincial land that you already have? Is that land that you're looking to buy? I hate to use the word, but expropriate?
I'd say we're looking at all land. So again, looking at with municipal partners, private land, provincially owned land for sure.
Now that number, 460 some odd houses, as I understand it, 25 have been built to date. Do we know when you want to have these? Obviously, tomorrow is probably the answer, but do you have a timeline when these 464 houses will be built?
So the commitment of 515, so the 464 plus the 51 modular, that represents over $250 million. So it's significant. We want to get these new homes built as quickly as possible. We'll have another 26 coming on board online later this fall, this winter, and then the work continues to develop and get these other projects underway as well.
So no real firm timeline for the other 400 and change that have yet to be broken ground on.
As soon as we complete due diligence and look at opportunities to reduce and reduce costs, and be able to announce where these new homes will be constructed, and we'll be able to get shovels in the ground and start building.
Minister LeBlanc, appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
That is Minister Colton LeBlanc on these houses, 464 plus 51. 25 to date have been built, 26 more coming this fall. That moves it to, 51, and still another 400 and change to be built. I continue to get the questions from people out there, and I know that there are many of you that are listening to the program that are awful concerned about the ability to actually build these houses. I get it. I understand that if we go down the line of prepackaged homes or single design homes, we've seen that used in the past, and modular homes that the minister had spoken on. But to build that many, you got to have boots on the ground, right? You got to have land cleared. You got to have foundation poured. You've got to have utilities drawn in. You've got to have road, street, sidewalks built, right? Lighting, all of that stuff. And boy, with just taking a look around out my windows, there's an awful lot of construction going on, and I would be curious to see and hear from somebody out there in the construction field if this is even attainable. Doesn't sound like the minister was willing to commit to a timeline on the remaining 400, and that might be one of the reasons why. The crux of the story is, though, that they're going to have to take a look at this even closer, because the estimates that have come back, and I'm going to suggest that building costs are the reason why, have come back higher than they anticipated. And I think that we can all see why. I mean, just take a look around. I mean, go to your local hardware store, right? We have to stop. Take another break here on the program. In the remaining 30 minutes of the Monday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show, we're going to have a conversation about a new study that's looking at inheritances. It's actually quite poignant, considering that inheritance and selling of property is something that we've been discussing all day today. I wonder if an increase in the deed transfer tax weighs into this. But apparently, Atlantic Canadians are unprepared to inherit money. It's not just a matter of handing over a check, right? Like you see in the movies where they have the reading of the will and everybody kind of gathers and that kind of thing. This survey of 1,000 Canadians showed that we're not. We'll have a conversation with one of the people behind it. Erin Bury will be our guest. And then, just before the top of the hour, we're going to have a conversation with the co-owner of the Halifax Mooseheads. Peter Simon will be joining us. Moosehead season getting ready to drop the puck. Friday night, it all gets underway for real. Training camps are ending. Preseasons are done. What's in store for the Mooseheads this year, both on and maybe an insight to what's happening off the ice with Peter Simon, who we like to have join the program on the odd occasion to give us a little bit of insight from the front office of our beloved Halifax Mooseheads. All that's still to come right here on the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back after the news. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand, traveling with you through this Monday. A new study released today shows that a good chunk of Atlantic Canadians not ready for inheritance, not ready for that terrible situation should somebody in your family pass on, or even yourself. 39% of Atlantic Canadians don't have a will. 17% of us don't have any end-of-life documents at all. Now, I know there's a lot of you that are in your car or listening to us at the office or at home, and you're going, I'm that way too, because I will admit it, I don't have a will. And I've been something that I've been talking about for some time to do, but, you just really never get around to it. Please welcome the co-founder and CEO of Willful. That's Erin Bury. Erin, how are you?
Dan, I'm great, thanks, and thanks for admitting this live on the radio.
Well,
that's a big admission. I appreciate it. It normalizes it for everyone else listening.
Well, that's just it, because it's something, and to be honest, my finances and my family finances are kind of my bailiwick. I look after our investments and our insurances and all that stuff, and have had the conversation about getting one, but have just never really pulled the trigger on the whole thing. I'm sure I'm not alone.
you're not alone. I mean, our research, as you mentioned, shows that it's really common to not have prioritized these things. And it's especially common the younger you are. So that must mean you're just so youthful, Dan, that you have not, you feel invincible. This is not something you have to worry about. But, my husband and I started Willful 8 years ago. We lost a loved one and saw, just how much is left to deal with when someone passes away. And it's so much easier if you have those documented plans, not just a will, but what are your funeral and burial wishes? Where's all the important paperwork stored? And so that's really the goal of this report, is to show, it really matters to our families if we're organized, and having these conversations, while it can sometimes be uncomfortable, is so important.
67%, according to your latest survey, Erin, 67% of Atlantic Canadians say they've had a conversation about end-of-life wishes, but only less than half, 45%, know their families, know what they are, and have shared their own with them. Is that because that conversation's difficult? Because you don't want to talk about that stuff, right?
Yeah, I often hear people say, I can't bring up inheritances to my parents. They're just going to think that I'm after the money. Or, parents talking to adult children say, well, I don't want to bother them with it. It's really uncomfortable. It brings up thoughts of me passing away. And so I always suggest starting with this question about legacy. What do you want your legacy to be? Do you want to impact charities? Do you want to have something specific? My grandmother wanted to be donated to science, and that's very valiant and cool, and maybe not what a lot of other people would want. So having the conversation over the Thanksgiving dinner table doesn't have to be about dollars and cents. It can be about the type of legacy you want to leave. And part of that legacy is the administrative side. If you're the type of person who has your stuff organized, has a will, has power of attorney documents, has the life insurance paperwork all organized, the passwords written down, your family is not going to be shaking their fist when, at the sky when you pass away. They're going to have everything they need. And more importantly, they're going to feel empowered that this is what you would actually want.
They shake their fist at me when I'm alive. They'll likely do the same when I'm dead.
Well, Dan, I can't help you with that. The report did not cover that.
Fair enough. Absolutely fair enough. Is it, and I know this has changed, and I know that's what your company does, Erin, is it the fear of having to go to the lawyer's office to do all this stuff contribute to people just not doing it?
Well, I think it's a lot of it is it's uncomfortable to think about our own mortality. And so obviously we put that off for tomorrow. And it's also a lack of knowledge, right? I don't know about you, but I didn't grow up talking about estate planning and wills at the dinner table. Nope. I certainly didn't learn about it in school. And so it really, death and money are these still taboo topics for Canadian families in 2025. And that was really why my husband and I built Willful, is how can we remove those barriers? How can we build just a super simple online way to get these documents in place that guides people through the questions and makes it a little more palatable, but also removes that massive price tag, right? So you can get a will done for $99 instead of $999.
Right. The price point always is another one of those objections, right?
Absolutely. Price point can be challenging. I mean, typically it depends where you live. If you live in a bigger city, then, maybe you're looking at $500 to $1,000 to create a will, but you're also paying every single time you go back to make changes. Let's say, you have another child, or you go through getting married or getting divorced. You really want to update your will. So it's this living, breathing document that reflects your life now, not your life 40 years ago. And so on Willful, we offer free changes to your documents. So you're paying once, you get free updates, and it really does try to remove that barrier of cost. Now, you still have to think about your own mortality, but, pour a glass of wine. We're getting into those chilly winter months, so it's kind of the perfect time to tackle this if it's been lingering on your to-do list.
All right, Erin, what happens in the event that you pass on and you don't have a will?
Great question. Dan, are you asking for personal reasons? Or
No, but I know it's a problem when things go into probate.
Absolutely. So if you pass away without a will, a government formula in your province dictates who will get your assets. So you're not in charge of that. Usually it starts with spouses, children, moves on to parents, but goes down the list to maybe a relative that you would not want to receive those assets, even if you're not a multimillionaire. And if you pass away without a will, so I have 2 young children under 4. And so if my husband and I were to pass away and we didn't have a will that appointed a guardian for those kids, that would be left up to the courts to decide. The courts would also have to pick someone to act as the executor to wrap up your estate. So this is why, taking 20 minutes now and under $100 to get a will in place saves the courts getting involved. It saves money. It saves time. It saves your family being annoyed at you for not having this done. And it makes sure that your assets go to the people that you choose instead of the government deciding.
You mentioned this earlier, and one of the objections people have to getting or asking about end of life stuff with their parents is that, there's that, I'm thinking that, well, I just want them to die so I can get their money. How do we broach that conversation with our elderly parents about these end of life things when, to be quite honest, some parents out there are very, very closed when it comes to financial matters?
Absolutely. Well, Dan, I wish I could tell you I was expecting a sizable inheritance, but I don't think that's the case. But what I do know, especially because I'm the will and estate planning person in our family, I have 8 aging parents between my husband and I, step parents, etc. And I know I'm going to be, whether the formal executor or whether the informal helper, I'm going to be left dealing with a lot of the logistical and administrative things when they pass away. So to me, it's not about the money. The question isn't, hey, are you leaving an inheritance to me? The question is, hey, mom, dad, do you have a will? Do you have power of attorney documents in case anything happens and I need to make decisions for you? Where are those pieces of paper stored? Because they have to be physical pieces of paper. They can't be digital. What about your passwords? I'm going to need to get into your email and some of these other accounts. Are those in your head or written on a Post-it, or are they in a password manager? What about your funeral and burial wishes? I want to make sure that, like grandma, I know if you want your body donated to science versus if you want a more traditional burial, and what kind of celebration of life you want. I know I would want one with open bar and lots of pizza, but not everybody would. So Fair. That's really how I broach it with my family is, hey, I want to do right by you and I want to honor your legacy, but I can't do that if I'm making up decisions after you're gone. And the only way that I'm going to be able to properly follow your wishes is if you either tell them to me or document them or both.
It's almost making impossible decisions, right? If there's no guidance, then you have to try and think, well, what would they want me to do? And then, if you have other family members and they may disagree, and it can just turn into a big mess.
Absolutely. And that's why, part of what we do on Willful is education. We have tons of articles about, what should you consider when you're appointing an executor or a guardian for your kids? What if you're an executor of a will? What do you need to know, and what are the first steps to take? Because, again, this is not something we all grow up knowing about. So whether you're the person creating your end-of-life plan or whether you're the person that is going to be dealing with it when a loved one passes away, there's a lot to consider. It can feel overwhelming, like this impossible task, but that's really our job at Willful is we'll make it easy, palatable. We'll guide you step by step. You do not need hours, and, you can chip away at it slowly over time, and your family will thank you.
Erin, appreciate your time. Fantastic
Thanks
stuff.
Thanks for having me, Dan. Appreciate it.
That is Erin Bury, co-founder of Willful. Now, how many of you are out there going, geez, I never really thought about that stuff, right? It's difficult. It's not an easy conversation. No matter how much education you have, it's still not an easy conversation to talk about one's mortality, right? And I am almost ashamed to admit I fall into that category. Had plenty of discussions, the typical, yeah, I know, should get that done, and then still haven't, right? Not that I have a whole lot of stuff, but still, right? Make it easy on everybody. We have to stop, take another break. When we come back, the season kicks off on Friday. Are you getting excited? Halifax Mooseheads return to the ice for real this time. They're heading to Charlottetown to kick off their season. Home opener goes Saturday night. What's happening with the club on the ice? And maybe a little bit of insight to happening off the ice when we sit down and have a conversation with one of the owners of the Halifax Mooseheads Hockey Club. That's Peter Simon. He's our guest next. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. It's like one of those signs, right? It's when, in the spring when you see the first robin, or the ice comes off the lakes and the rivers, and you know that the turning of the season is here. And then we move through the summer season and into fall. I know we're not there yet, so you don't have to send me emails. I know we're not there yet, but we're darn close. And one of the sure signs of fall for me is the return of Mooseheads hockey to 95.7 News Radio. We're very proud to be a longtime partner with our hometown hockey club, and we're going to continue that relationship this year. Gareth McDonald is back in the booth, and we'll bring you all of the action live from the ice right here on 95.7 News Radio all season long. And I'll tell you, this time last year, there was a lot of questions surrounding this Halifax Mooseheads Hockey Club on the ice. We really didn't know what to expect because we had a really young roster, some wily veterans, but a young roster, an untested roster maybe, and people were kind of up in the air where the Moose were going to go. They got into the playoffs, and then you will remember that they pulled off a first-round upset of the defending league champion, Drummondville Voltigeur. Everybody was really excited, and then, of course, the playoffs ended after, but that was further than I expected them to go, and some are suggesting that the team will do much better this year. We're looking at a brand-new head coach. Brad McKenzie will be patrolling behind the bench for the Mooseheads this year. We got 24 players that were named to the opening night roster, including 17 that we've seen before, which is always good in junior hockey, that you have a little bit of stability with some veterans on your lineup. And, of course, I think 7 new faces are in the lineup this year, and some European content this year, probably more than we've had in a long time. And I am looking, if you can't tell already, I am looking forward to the season. But those of you that spend some time down at Scotiabank Centre will maybe notice some new things happening around the squad this year. We're very pleased and honored to welcome to the show on the phone with us today a very busy Peter Simon, one of the owners of the Halifax Mooseheads. Mr. Simon, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We are pumped to be a partner with the Mooseheads again this year, and to bring our fans all of the action live right here on the radio station.
Thanks for your support. We truly appreciate it.
Peter, it's a new season, and maybe some things looking a little different for fans and the fan experience as they head into the season this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got some really cool new additions for Moose Country, which we're excited to share. New concession providers, a brand new digital ring, and new audio in Scotiabank Centre. So very excited to put this on display, and our fans deserve it. And we're just really excited to get the season started.
Right, and that's it has to be an exciting time for you to see this team get through training camp and to announce its lineup and get ready to kick off the season on the road in Charlottetown on Saturday, and then, of course, the home opener on Saturday night.
It's been too long. You end the season, and you're hoping it comes quicker than it takes. But it's been a good summer and a lot of good, a lot of good things that we were able to accomplish and just reflect on. But we're looking forward to this Friday, kicking off our season in Charlottetown, and then Saturday to be back at Scotiabank Centre. So we're just very excited all around.
Tell me a little bit what it's like from the ownership group, Peter, when we get into the new season. Do you get as excited about this as the fans do when we have a brand new, open, clean slate?
Yes, for sure. Last year we got off to a really good start, and I think that's very important to start off the season. You see a lot of teams that, they get off to poor starts, teams that get off to good starts. It just allows you a lot of flexibility to be able to weather the tough spells during the year, and puts just more pressure if you get off to a tougher start to really kick things into the right gear. But we feel really confident about the group that we have this season and the returning players and some of the new faces we've added. We have a really exceptional staff who we believe in, and of course, my father and I really are just supportive to everything that they're trying to do and to the process. So, but definitely, really crucial to start the season off strong and to really get everybody gelling together, and then to kick the gear, hopefully continuing to elevate as the year goes along.
Peter, you mentioned your dad, and you have been the owners now just over, almost 2 years now? Just over 2 years? That being...
heading into 3, yeah.
Into the third year. Tell me a little bit about owning a junior hockey team. Was it what you expected, or was it different?
I think the Mooseheads are a special case. I think you get different franchises in junior hockey in terms of just both arena size to fan bases to budgets to owners as well. So I think the Mooseheads are a really special case. And my father and I have just really enjoyed the journey. And I would say it's been some things have met expectations, others have exceeded. Some things are somewhat below expectations. But specifically with our situation in Halifax, we're just extremely blessed to be able to have the Mooseheads and to be in the presence of such great fans in a community and really just people in general in Halifax are just fantastic. And we're just extremely honored to be stewards of the team.
I have to ask the question, Peter, because people ask me the question. Happy with the setup here in Halifax? No plans to move the team out of the city?
Absolutely not. That would actually be the dumbest thing my father and I could ever do, to be honest. If you talk about business decisions, I mean, we're very pleased, and Halifax is home to the Mooseheads. Never ever will we ever consider something like that. So absolutely not.
Understand that training facility at the RBC Center over in Dartmouth. You're looking at asking the city to expand the gym there. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, we truly believe, of course, to keep up with NCAA standards and the changing landscape in hockey, and really my father and I's belief that we want to give our franchise the best resources and the best facilities and the best staff, in hockey, period. To further that belief, we really think that this is going to be something that's important as we look to really enhance the brand and as we look to further our franchise. And then I think, we'd want to do some community stuff too in that space during the summer and during the times when our team isn't in there.
Right.
I think there's some different activations we can do, with it. But, based on some of the articles that have been written, sort of our posture's changed a bit. We know the city goes through a process in order to approve any funding. And, my dad and I are super entrepreneurial, and we just want to get things done as quickly as possible. So, nothing against the city's process and no hard feelings, but, we want to move it forward ourselves. And then throughout that whole entire time, work concurrently with the city, down the road to maybe get some funds, but to not have that hinder sort of the process of getting the space done the way that we want it to get done.
As I understand it, you're willing to pay for the upgrade.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll see it soon.
Yeah, that's the hope. Hopefully next summer we'll be, doing construction, and then, in the space hopefully thereafter.
Peter, I know you're extremely busy with the Mooseheads and your ever-evolving company. I'm glad you were able to spend a few minutes with us, and we hope to see you down at Scotiabank Centre throughout the season.
We'll be there Saturday, the whole family, so we're just looking forward to kicking off the season. And I just want to thank you for the support, thank the entire media for the support, and thank just the community of Halifax, and then all of our fans who truly are the best fans in hockey. And we could not do what we do without their support and without the support of you guys. And we're just really excited for this season. And just know, like my father and I, you guys will always have our full support. And we're very blessed and very honored to be stewards of a team like the Mooseheads and to be part of a community like Halifax. So very excited, and thank you for taking the time.
Peter, appreciate it. Go Moose, go.
Bye.
That is Peter Simon.
That
is Peter Simon, president of Simon Sports, in town for the home opener Saturday night, Friday night, Charlottetown, 7 o'clock, right here on 95.7 News Radio. Can you tell I'm a bit excited? I know Gareth is, and the whole team is ready to go. Thanks to everybody for joining the show today. Thanks to our callers. Thanks to our guests. Thanks to Vanessa Vandenez. And remember, be well and be kind to one another.